word Amos actually means a burden. A burden. A burden. He had a burden on him. God gave him a burden. And that's what he was carrying. Now, we're dissecting. Now, remember, this whole thing is about the apocalypse and dissecting the Bible to get to the revelation of the apocalypse, the revelation of God at the end. What's all this about? Why is everything happening like it's happening? It's happening like it's happening for a reason. This is not helter-skelter stuff. Amos, chapter 1. The words of Amos, who was among the herdmen of Tekoa, which he saw concerning Israel in the days of Uzziah, king of Judah, and in the days of Jeroboam, the son of Joash, king of Israel, 2 years before the earthquake. So apparently there must have been an earthquake back then, because he was talking 2 years before the earthquake. In the days of Jeroboam, you know what Jeroboam did now. He set up the calves in Dan and Bethel and started false god worship and defiled Israel, and it ended up and culminated in Ahab and Jezebel. So Jeroboam is actually the seedbed and root of the existence of Ahab and Jezebel. Jeroboam's worship systems led to Ahab. The Bible kept referring to them and the things he did as the high places. Jeroboam set up the high places, the high places, the high places. You'll see the Bible continually saying, but they removed not the high places. That was caused by wicked Jeroboam. And he said, the Lord will roar from Zion and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the habitation of the shepherd shall mourn, and the top of Carmel shall wither. Thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Damascus, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they have treated Gilead with threshing in instruments of iron. But I will send a fire into the house of Hazael, which shall devour the palaces of Ben-Hadad. I will break also the bar of Damascus, and cut off the inhabitant from the plain of Avon. And him that holdeth the scepter from the house of Eden, and the people of Syria shall go into captivity unto Kir, saith the Lord. Thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Gaza, and for 4. Remember, we already talked about now that Gaza was one of the leading cities of the Philistines. So he's dealing with the surrounding elements around Israel that are against Israel. I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they carried away captive the whole captivity to deliver them up to Edom. But I will send a fire on the wall of Gaza, which shall devour the palaces thereof. And I will cut off the inhabitant from Ashdod, and him that holdeth the scepter from Ashkelon. And I will turn mine hand against Ekron, and the remnant of the Philistines shall perish, saith the Lord. The remnant of the Philistines are whom? Are who? The Palestinians. This is present day stuff going on right now. The Gaza Strip is over there right now. Everything is happening right now. We're living through this. Thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Tyrus, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they delivered up the whole captivity to Edom, and remembered not the brotherly covenant. But I will send a fire on the wall of Tyrus, which shall devour the palaces thereof. Thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword, and did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever. But I will send a fire upon Teman, which shall devour the palaces of Bozrah. Thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of the children of Ammon, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they have ripped up the women with child of Gilead, that they might enlarge their border. But I will kindle a fire in the wall of Rabbah, and it shall devour the palaces thereof, with shoutings in the day of battle, with a tempest in the day of the whirlwind. And their king shall go into captivity, he and his princes together, saith the Lord. Verse 1 of chapter 2. Thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Moab, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he burned the bones of the king of Edom into lime. So you see he's judging surrounding tribes. You got to get the mystery of it all. He says, I'm coming against Edom in verse 11. Ammon in verse 13. Moab in chapter 2, verse 1. Where do these people come from? Ammon came from where? Huh? He was Lot's son that he had by his own daughter. He was a rebel against God. He was a bastard child. Remember the bastard that's going to be down in Ashdod? Moab, where'd he come from? He was Ammon's brother, half-brother, by Lot's other daughter. He was a renegade that hated Israel too. Remember the Ammonites, the Moabites? They hated Israel. Always trying to torment them, always trying to do them in. So you know now in verse 2, you got who Moab was. In verse 13, you see who Ammon is. Came from Lot's loins, incestuously sired by his own daughters, and they fought against Israel. Verse 11 talks about Edom. Who is Edom? Huh? He's really Esau. The word Edom comes from the word red. Remember it says Esau was a red man? The Edomites, look what he says about him here in verse 11. I will not turn away the punishment thereof because he did pursue his brother. Who is he talking about? Jacob. Who became? Israel. This is right now happening. He says he pursued his brother with a sword and did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever. Now you know that when Esau found Jacob, he didn't kill him. He had pity on him, apparently, but he was still mad. Because he knew what? You stole my birthright. You got my birthright. I should be the one that's got this stuff, and you got it. Now you see the stage is set. Ammon hated him, bastard children by Lot illegitimately through incest with his own daughters. Ammon, Moab, and Edom, who was really Esau. There's a missing person here. The main one is really mad. His name was Ishmael. Ishmael was whose son? He was Abraham's son, right? That he had by Hagar, the slave woman who was a Egyptian. Now look at this, man. This right here is going to make so much sense as we get to the end of time, what we're up against. Hagar sired Ishmael. Ishmael was contentious toward whom? Isaac, because that was the woman who had the son that God designated. Isaac was whose brother? Whose father? No, Isaac was whose father? Jacob's father, who became Israel. So out of Isaac's loins came Jacob, whose God changed Jacob's name to Israel. And he's sitting right over there, right there in the Middle East, right there in that contentious land. But what happened to Ishmael, the man who hated Isaac? He was cast out with his mother. But what did God do for him? Of how many tribes? They were anciently called Hagarites. You know what they called them, Hagarites? Because his mama's name was Hagar. Or they were called Hagarenes. That sounds like hag, but a Hagarene is a person that came from Hagar. Notice how they didn't mention Abraham. They were Hagarites or Hagarenes. As you fast forward into modern times, what have their name become now? Arabians, Arabs.
That means like mongrel, I think.
Like a mongrel.
Yeah.
Like an offcast type of a mixed breed. This is what this is. It's tension about Israel. Ammon, Moab, and Edom are the surrounding tribes that surround them to this very day. In Jordan, Iran, Iraq, Egypt, Lebanon, Syria, Saudi Arabia, Go down the list of them. The same tribes. Mad about the same stuff to this very day. Why are they Muslims? Because they won't pay homage to the God of Abraham. They won't do it. I got to create my own system of government, and I'm going to rule in this system and worship in this system based on my hatred of Abraham and all that lineage. You see, it was something wrong with Lot's daughters to want to have sex with their dad in the first place. They came out of where? Sodom and Gomorrah. They had been infiltrated by perverse spirits and sired perverse-hearted children who didn't like Lot's inheritance. My mama is your daughter. Can't you see what that'll do to a child? My mama is your daughter. So Lot is both my daddy and my granddaddy. Man, you can't. Think about if you had a child by your own daddy. You'd be a confused, tore up person, not knowing what's what. Identity would be skewed. I don't know if I'm your grandson or your son. All right, all this is the boiling pot, the boiling cauldron. What happened to you when you got saved that put you in the middle of this? You came in through Judah and became one of the tribes of Israel. They see you like they see Israel. You became part of it. You actually got saved from the tribes of the Arabians and the Moabites and the Edomites and the Perizzites and the Girgashites and the Jebusites. And you came out of the wilderness of the Gentiles and came into Israel. And everybody on earth has the remnants of these spirits in them. If you're not of the house of Israel through Jesus Christ, you got the remnants of these antichrist tribes in you. The Nephilim, the invaders, the demons. They don't like Jesus. They don't like the patriarchy. They're matronized tribes. This is the stage that's set for the end of time. This is what is going to unravel and reveal the apocalypse. These people are being filled with the spirits of the Ammonites, Moabites, and Edomites. So they're covering themselves with tattoos right now. Can't you see it in front of you? They're piercing themselves all over. They're getting strange mohawk hairdos. They're androgynous. They're creating icons that look like them and feel like them. Lady Gaga. Weird, strange entertainers. Adam Lambert, homosexual guy from American Idol. Perverse spirits everywhere. Can't you see Lil Wayne? That's a reflection of the Ammonites, the Moabites, and all these foreign tribes. These are the icons they build because they look like them. They have the same desires as them. The main thing that these false images minister to is rebellion because of the antichrist spirit that inundates those that are not of Christ. You won't like Christ. Christ will offend you. Let your teenager feed on the world and watch how they won't like Christ. They'll have no appetite for the things of Christ. They don't understand they're opening their souls up to the Nephilim, the fallen angels' children, and the tribes that hate Christ, full of Dagon and Ashtaroth and Molech. These are the gods that you see formulating and designing the very outer countenances of all the present day stars.